hope that most of you were already able to meet our new president, Dr. Shonni Silverberg, on Rosh Hashanah when she greeted us. She is a brilliant doctor and an extraordinary human being. We could not be more fortunate that she has chosen to serve our congregation as our president and leader. I want to invite her up to share a few words with us tonight.
They don't believe how short I am. I keep trying to tell them. Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to see you here, and it's wonderful to not see all of you out, but know that you're all out there. There is nothing in my background that suggests that I would ever serve as a synagogue president. Never mind as president of one of the largest congregations in what we Canadians fondly called the States. Growing up in Montreal in the late 50s and 60s, I attended a Zionist socialist day school where we studied English and French subjects in the morning and Yiddish and Hebrew in the afternoon. We read the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, as a quasi-historical document. I was one of only 2 kids in my class whose parents did not have numbers tattooed on their arms, and we never, ever went to synagogue. My Jewishness was everywhere around me, in our family, in our home, in school, in camp, in our pride in the new nation of Israel. I didn't need a Jewish home, at least not one outside my parents' house and that of my insular Jewish Montreal community. Fast forward. In New York, the Jewish community was more synagogue-based. My husband and I were a Jewishly rootless young family with 2 kids, and we felt that it was important to affiliate. While we were shopping around for a synagogue, Rabbi Rick Jacobs, then senior rabbi of Westchester Reform Temple, asked us if we would mind hosting a young rabbinic and cantorial intern in our home for the year. He assured us that she would be no trouble at all, and that in exchange, she would teach our sons, Zach and Nathaniel. And then he introduced us to Angela Buchdahl. No trouble indeed. Like so many of you, I found my Jewish home here at Central Synagogue. To me, one of the best things about Central is that we all have such different reasons for loving it. Some of us come because our families have been associated with the synagogue for generations. We have precious memories, and we love the place for them. Others have never belonged to a synagogue before. Some come for the music, others for the clergy, and some for our programs that educate those from the ages of 2 to 92. And this year, some came because we welcomed them when other communities did not. This year, more than any other year, so many of you out there consider Central to be your Jewish home, because even though you have never stepped foot in our sanctuary and live around the country or around the world in cities such as San Diego, Los Angeles, Nashville, and Martha's Vineyard, just to mention 4 places where my relatives live streamed Rosh Hashanah, or in one of the 87 countries around the globe where we live stream. Regardless of why you came to Central or how you came to it or why you treasure it, this institution depends on your support. Last year at this time, we were 6 months into a pandemic that we hoped would be in our rearview mirror by the time we got together to atone in 2021. And while things are indeed better than they were last year, we are far from done with this. We were so beautifully led through this crisis by our spiritual leader, Rabbi Buchdahl, and by Marcia Caban and her staff, who keep the synagogue functioning and excellent in every way. As John May, one of our beloved officers, described Central in the pandemic, While we were apart, Central brought us together. Central's clergy and staff worked tirelessly to shape-shift and innovate and bring us new forms of worship and altered old programs to turn them into new programs to keep us in touch. These innovations were only possible because we had the infrastructure and the resources to support them. We are so grateful to each and every one of our members and our live stream donors who stepped up to support us last year. Unfortunately, as the pandemic improves, it turns out we are actually having increased costs and needs rather than decreased. When we found out that David Geffen Hall would not be available this year, and in fact would be much smaller once the renovation was done, we committed to Radio City to provide an option for in-person worship. And then the Delta variant hit the city. As disappointing as this has been, we couldn't imagine telling our congregation that there was no option for in-person worship if the public health situation permitted it. We also have increased costs associated with what I am calling the dual option. We are not, thankfully, in a COVID lockdown where everything has to be online as it was last year, but things are not normal yet either. And so we are investing in this year in making both in-person and online options for everything great. We are making sure services are wonderful for those of you sitting here in the sanctuary, but equally so for people who are live streaming and providing the production value that our online community has come to expect from us. Similarly, we are offering both in-person and online options for Hebrew School to over 600 students, because despite the increased costs, we couldn't imagine not engaging and educating our youth. The same holds true for our adult education programs. And finally, with the sad but clear increase in anti-Semitism in our country and in our city, as a prominent and visible congregation, we must and we are increasing our investment in security. So this year, we hope all of you will again step up. We need all of you to again step up. Central has been there for us, and Central will be there for us. I ask you, think about your Central moment. What was a time this year when Central did something that came through for you, that was important to you? Was it when we woke up one morning and realized that you had a meditation practice, even though you had absolutely sworn that meditation was not for you? Or was it when your granddaughter called to say that one-on-one Hebrew classes at Central was the best school ever? Or when your son's bar mitzvah was more meaningful than you ever could have imagined, despite stringent COVID restrictions? Or, as with so many of you this year, when you were able to say Kaddish for someone you loved as part of an online streaming community. I'll share my Central moments. First, listening to my 90-plus-year-old father belt out the Aleinu from his recliner in his Berkshire's home, singing along with the clergy. Second, weeping as Angela sang L'chilach under the chuppah at my son Zachary's wedding to Skylar, 30 people on the lawn instead of 300. And finally, hearing the Yiddish partisan song at my father's recent funeral. Central has been there for me and my family, and Central will be there for you. We need you to support Central so Central can support you if, when, and how you need it to. If I have learned anything as a physician in this pandemic, it is that we must anticipate the unexpected. Central has shown itself to be nimble in response to the events of the last 18 months, and I think more nimbleness will be required of us going forward. I feel certain that we are up to the task. I look forward to working with all of you to support Rabbi Buchdahl and our wonderful clergy and staff as we move from strength to strength. I wish each of you and your families a year of health and peace, and I thank you.